Good morning, Green River College. I'll let everybody have a minute or so. Can you hear me okay? All right. Just letting everybody get settled. So the goal of today is that I get through this presentation without walking off the stage unintentionally. So concerned I've been about where I'll be during this presentation today that they put a tape parameter. So I will stay within camera bounds. Good morning, Green River College. I am so unbelievably happy to be here with you. I cannot tell you. Yeah, it's great to get applause when you haven't done anything yet, you know. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for spending the next hour with me. Thank you for spending the hour together as we start on what I believe to be one of the best years for Green River College ahead, and many more to come. The title of the presentation today for you, or like I'd like to call it a college address, is Our Future Together for Our Students. And I'm hoping that you enjoyed the loop that was playing. That is the handiwork of Peter Goodmanson, who's over in Markham. What a great set of images. It's all about our students. It's about our beautiful college. It's about our beautiful resources. But even more so, it's the students' experiences, it's the students' successes, it's the students' lives that bring us here each day, that help us thrive, that help us feel like we are full of passion and joy each day. Now, before I start today and talk about why I remember this quote every morning when I get up, I'd like to introduce to you some special guests today, although you are all special and you are all important. But we do have a few important individuals I'd like to share with you. And look, notice how I don't have to look for the names of the Board of Trustees. But I will verify that I don't forget anybody from our foundation board. We have here today with us Chair Tim Clark, Trustee Linda Cowan, Trustee Jackie Boschak. We also have with us today, which I'm very happy to share with you, is Scott Atkins, the CEO of Inspirus, who is doing some tremendously wonderful work with our students here. Thank you for being here. And then from our foundation board, that group of people that tirelessly and quietly make dreams come true for our students through scholarship efforts. We have Linda Springer, John Holman, Jim Roddle, Lynn Norman, and Adriana Pachuca. Thank you for being here. This is a very important day for all of you. It's especially important for all of you that were tirelessly involved with the presidential search for over a year's time, or nearly a year's time. I feel the responsibility, but I also feel the privilege to be your president and to serve you and to support you in making this institution all it can be. You are a tremendous institution, and it is a gift for me to be here with you. This is absolutely something I remember each day. Education is the most powerful weapon which we can use to change the world. And we do it with each student one by one by helping them and supporting them make their dreams and life, career goals, and educational goals come true. So there's 2 points to me talking to you about things today. First, I'm recognizing as I was going through and saying hello to all the tables, that for probably the overwhelming majority of you, this is the first time you're seeing me. It's the first time I'm meeting you too. And I've discovered, after 30 years in higher education, working among a college environment, if you don't provide a narrative, one is made for you. Sometimes it's better than what the reality is, but most of the time it's maybe not. It's got some gossip in it, conspiracy theories, things like that. So I want to take a brief time at the front end of this and introduce myself to you and tell you a little bit about why I wanted to come here. And it just happened that I could be the president. It really wouldn't have mattered what position it was, but that was the one that was open. So I'd like to introduce myself to you. And the next thing I would want to do is talk about Green River College today, what I've learned from all of you in the few months I've been here, and what our future is, because it's tremendous. So, this is my family. Back in 2016, it was my older child's graduation from college. And to us, this is just any other family, like any other family. Of course, it is a bit different. That's my spouse of 33 years, Beth. Actually, 33 years tomorrow. Okay. She appreciates that applause because she's the one that deserves it. Yeah. But she's there in the middle. And on the other far end, Bailey's closest to me. And on the other far end is our younger child, Emery, who identifies as trans and uses the they pronoun. This was our wedding day in 2011. It was about 27 years late, but that was just a few months after New York legalized gay marriage. And it was an especially important day for us, but especially important for our children, because they had been born into a family that was different. They had many life experiences which were different. They themselves felt different, but they also knew what a great family they had. So having that opportunity to be publicly recognized in a legal way, no, it's not photoshopped, was more important to Beth and me that day for our kids than it really meant to us. Because we were already married. We were already entwined financially and otherwise, right? Family, the ties that bind and gag. But that was funny. But for our children, it was a remarkable day. And for those family and friends that were still with us, it was also a remarkable day. And I'd like to think that the family that did not live long enough to see that moment made themselves present and known to us, because as we finished our vows, that rainbow appeared in the sky and hung there for about 15 or 20 minutes. So some of you know that I spent a long time in the classroom. And in fact, alrighty then. And in fact, it was about 25 years in the classroom. I was a tenured professor at a 4-year private institution. I joined that institution when I was 10. Actually, I have no issues with age, and the ages will come up in a little while. It matters. I was 27 when I fell into that job, and I was at Stony Brook University at the time, finishing my dissertation in developmental psychology. Some of you know a little bit about my background. I went to college and studied psychology and art history at Ithaca College in New York, in upstate New York. New York, right? And then I went on to Stony Brook University in the State University of New York system and studied developmental psychology and received my master's and PhD. Well, for those of you who are familiar with the SUNY system in Stony Brook, you'll know that Stony Brook is an R1 institution, research level 1 institution. And when you're a graduate student, you're being trained to be a leading researcher in something. And that's what your mentors, your research advisors count on. So when I told my research advisor, hey, there's this little school about 30 minutes from here, and they're needing a developmental psychologist, and I think I might like to teach, you can realize that he was not all that excited. And he said, but you're being trained in research and attachment theory, and I'm a leading researcher in attachment theory, and you will continue the legacy. And I said, I think I want to teach. I think I want to go and be in a classroom. So I had the good fortune of falling into that job before I had finished my dissertation. So I really was 10. So I spent a long time teaching various courses, and it was a very wonderful job. It wasn't a job, actually. It was a passion. I know most all of you understand that, right? I want you to be able to come to this campus each day and feel like you're full of joy and happiness. Because when the thing we do that's called work is a passion, it's not work, right? It's a calling. And I loved being in that classroom, and I loved creating courses, I loved teaching and helping educate students in a variety of areas. So I was an attachment researcher, that's true. That's what I studied. That's what I researched initially. But then something happened. And the thing that happened was the 2000 election for president in this country. And George W. Bush was running for president. He apparently won. And along with that time period was a wave of belief systems and ideologies which were quite anti many things, but certainly not gay-friendly. And my older daughter at the time of 2000 was 6, and my younger child was 4. And we, unlike being, smart parents, we allowed TV in our house. I am the first one to say TV was my best parenting friend, right? I don't know whether Beth would say that, but I would certainly say that was my best parenting friend. It's like, let's see what's on TV. So unfortunately, there was this moment where what was on TV was the evening news, and we were busy preparing dinner. And the presidential candidate was on TV talking about how people who were gay or lesbian were not good people and they were not fit parents. And my child was watching the screen. And my younger one would have been, but they were 4. And my children had 2 mommies. And that was not okay. So, Beth, who also is a developmental psychologist, but was studying child and adolescent psychopathology, and me, being an attachment researcher, had a moment. And in one of my moments of sort of emotion, I said, this is ridiculous. We are both developmental psychologists. We are good parents. We have a lovely home and family. We can't stand by and let this go unaddressed. We should write a book. And of course, as the words came out, I thought, what did I say? And of course, Beth said, you're right, we should. And since I was tenured at that point, didn't have to worry about my job security, for the most part, we were able to shift our focus of research. And we paired up, and we became co-authors and researchers on a lot of things, presenters on a lot of things. And ironically, one of the best days of our life is when we became a member of the most watched list for the Family Research Council. We found out we were on the top 10 hit list, and we're like, we made it. But it was a very rewarding shift. Of course, this was back in 2000, and at a time when much of this was not being written about in any standardized way, nor researched in a particularly standardized way. But we were motivated by something far more than just professional dedication to the fact that families take many forms. And it is true that love makes a family. It's love. and commitment. But it was also, of course, profoundly personally rewarding because we did it for our children and we did it for the millions of other children in this country who have families like ours. So there are things about my past and that are part of me that makes me understand what it means to be in a powerful position and what it means to not be in a powerful position. Being in a powerful position, by virtue of my fate of birth, I was born white. And I was born in an economically stable family. But in terms of not as much power, I know what it feels to be the other. And I think many of our students understand that too, whether it's in terms of sexuality or something else. And there's this other part of me. And I thought I should add this because it does play a significant role in my mental life. I'm the dopey one in the middle there with some silly smile. I look fairly harmless. I actually am. But martial arts became a major element of my life. And the reason I bring this up is because I believe it's never too late to have new beginnings. Ever, ever, ever. And there are many people in our communities that are at different points in their lives where they're wondering if it's too late. It's not. It's not. It's not too late to come back and get a certificate. It's not too late to come back and get a credential. It is never too late for education. So in my first midlife crisis, in my early 40s, I studied martial arts. And I had a black belt in another art, and I left that art because that was too hard on my body because I was in my early 40s. It was very much like Sky Martial, drop 'em, break 'em, lock 'em, right? And, you know, you can only be thrown so many times in judo throws. So I moved to a very traditional form of Japanese jiu-jitsu called Hokoryu jiu-jitsu. That actually does hurt. We can play games later if you'd like. I can show you. But the reason I did that was because I wanted to jumpstart my life again. In my early 40s, we were very productive in terms of our research and so on. But in my life, I experienced some profound loss. I lost my sister. I lost my niece of 25 years. And I had a lot of questions about my life and the meaning of it. And I needed to do something that would wake me up in some other way to help with my grief. And I went to martial arts. It's not for everybody. I recognize it. But there was something about it that helped me work those losses through. This form of art, Iaido, is a love now. Drawing the blade requires absolute mental precision. If you are distracted in any particular way, you will see it in the cut. You will not get the whoosh sound, right? You always hear that when people do the thing with the blade and you hear whoosh. So one of the ways in which I keep myself focused with all the noise that goes around us every day is this sort of thing. Keeping razor and laser sharp focus on what the intent and purpose of my day is, of what our mission is, and why we get up every morning. Although I'm not in my hakama, and I'm not brandishing my blade, I bring that mental discipline with me every day I'm with you. So I can focus on you. I can focus on our students, and I can focus on why we're here. So something happened about 25 years into teaching, and for the faculty here, they'll appreciate my phrase, I went to the dark side. Dark side. Right? I was compelled to do it, though. My mother loves this picture, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. And I'm telling you, if she could have been here, she'd be here. And she's 87, and you don't want to mess with that lady. She's from Missouri. I'm from Missouri originally, but you don't mess with, just when she gets here eventually, just be careful, okay? I did become an administrator. I became an administrator at the college that I had spent 25 years at, Dowling College. This is me as dean of the college. I'm presiding over graduation. Dean of the college is kind of like provost, right? Oversaw student and academic affairs. This was a bittersweet day to me because I knew as I looked over the hundreds of students we were graduating, with the board behind me, with faculty among us, among all of us there, I knew that was the last graduation I was going to be at that college. No one knew that except me, my family, and the person that was getting me to go out of there. I'll tell you about that in a second. And it was with a broken heart because I knew I needed to go for a couple of reasons. But one of them is because this college was going to fail. And it did. But hold that thought. The reason my mother loves this picture, okay, and when she saw this picture, she kind of welled up. I don't know, I think it's because, look how you're looking, right? You've got the regalia on. You look like you're smart, right? My mother says, I always knew I'm the baby. Okay, I'm the youngest in the family. How many people are babies here? The youngest. Okay, how many people are the oldest in their families? Okay, and you know how I didn't even ask you middle children, about whether you were middle? You are really neglected. I just wanted to make sure you all remembered that. Okay, so, sorry. I got serious stuff to talk about in a minute. Anyway, my mother loves to tell this story, and I can appreciate that now being a parent myself. But when I was born, my hair was white. So I'm going to be vulnerable here. I'm sharing. You need to know I'm a human being like all of you, right? I was born different. No, not the gay thing. I was born different. And what's different about me, although when you look at my eyes, they appear blue, is that I'm albinoid. I have pink retina. And my hair is very dark now. But it was white when I was born. And when I was born, and I don't look like anybody in my family. They all look normal, and then there's me. So when I was born, the doctors told my parents it was probably very important for them to start looking for a special school for me. This is the early 60s. Start doing the math, but I'll tell you my age in a minute. Because it would be unlikely that I would have adequate vision to learn how to read. It is something that I was born with. So I don't know what's different about what I miss, because I've never been able to see what I don't know, right? But I want you to understand, if you're calling to me from afar, I might not see you, and it's not that I'm rude, it's because I'm pretty much blind, right? I do not have adequate vision to do many things, but I adapt well, and that's why it's sometimes surprising to people that's like, I had no idea that you are so limited. People who are working with me now, they start to see I use large print and things like that. You'll never see me behind the wheel of a car because it's better that way for all of you. Plus, they won't let me. It's kind of illegal for people with my vision to do that. But I've never let that physicality limit me in terms of what I do. But again, although my parents always believed in me, my family always believed in me, I know what it's like to be, by virtue of how you look, underestimated. Because it's not what the reactions were always of teachers. It wasn't the reaction always of people who I came in contact with. They would be like, well, aren't you smart? Well, you're doing a pretty good job, aren't you? I know what it's like to be underestimated. So when my mother sees pictures like this, she just gets all wrapped up in that whole mom stuff, right? And of course, the other thing you need to know, and I'll start harping on people, I already have been, about getting your flu shots. When I was 27 and I started working at Dowling as an instructor, because I didn't have my PhD yet, I got the flu, caught the flu. I'm 27, I'm healthy. But through a series of really unfortunate events, I lost half my hearing. Get the flu shot. that was a very difficult thing for me, because by virtue of the fact that my vision had been so poor, I had always relied on my hearing, and it was quite well developed. That was an adjustment. And it was a setback. I'm in a classroom now, and I can't hear students talking to me. What was happening? Many might give up. Many might decide that that's not something they're going to be able to do, to be in a big room with people talking. It wasn't my approach. I'm kind of scrappy. And I overcame that. But again, if I don't hear you, it's because I'm deaf, okay? So, kind of have to be in front of me. Anyway, I offer these examples because my life is no different than anyone else's. There's ups and there's downs, and there's joys and there's grief. Our students come with these same things too. But it tells you something about my persistence and my resiliency and my desire to never, ever give up. And it's that got me here, to you. The other thing that happened that day, pretty soon this is going to stop being about me and we're going to start talking about the college. Don't worry, we're getting to us. The other thing that happened this day, and I can almost remember it in a very salient way, looking out with all these students, and many of them that had been in my classes, and being so happy for them, and then looking at friends who had become family, that we had been together for decades, knowing that I was going to leave them through the dark of night, literally almost. I realized I needed to do something with my life remaining in a qualitatively different way than I had done so far. And what that was, and it was because of a birthday. This is my second life crisis, right? Midlife crisis. I had a birthday, and I was joking with the search committee, or maybe the board. I was saying, when I was here visiting, I said, well, I had a birthday, and I know you're not supposed to tell your age. So the last number was a 0, and the first number was not a 2, 3, 4, or 6. And I realized I had lived longer than I had left to live. And I basically said to myself, like I did a little over a decade before, what are you doing? Wake up. What do you want to do with the rest of your life? And I said, I want to go where all the hot issues are in terms of higher education. I want to go where every day we know we're making a difference in every student's life we touch. And that meant community colleges. So I had an offer, and it's kind of an interesting story, probably requires a beverage of an adult sort. But I got a cold call in the midst of that year that I was serving as dean, and I was given an offer. They said, I'm having a retirement. I need somebody to be a campus president at Portland Community College. Can you come do that for a year? Use it as your launch. Try to make a new go of it. I said, are you insane? Portland, Oregon, New York, family, child in college, child a senior in high school. And there we went. We went to Portland. And the 3 people, actually some of you might know the person to my left there. That's Sandra Fowler-Hill, who spent a great deal of time in the state of Washington. And you've got Jessica Howard and Karen Edwards. Those 3 wonderful women are still campus presidents at Portland. They have 4 campuses. I was the campus president at Sylvania, about 35,000 students when I was there. And boy, did it get my feet wet. That's a big campus, but it was wonderful. And I knew the minute I got there, community colleges is where I needed to be. So that year, no sooner did I land, I had to be on the job market because this was a 1-year job. And I applied to lots of jobs. And I became the vice president for academic affairs at Suffolk County Community College in New York. That's where you found me, or that's where I found you. And it's a great job. Complicated system, 3 campuses, about 35,000 total, but still big, biggest system school in New York. And every possible issue that you could imagine. We'll talk about harrowing stories sometime in the future. occurs when you're a VPAA. Where's Rebecca? Or VPI. Great experience for me, and that was okay. And there I was. And I figured, okay, I have a not interim job. I'm at a community college. We're set. And then I got a call, and they said, there's a position opening up in Washington. It's Green River College. You might want to look at that. And I looked at it, and then I Googled Green River College. So, you know. All right. You might have been here. So I Googled, and I thought, wow, that's interesting. And I had a friend in Oregon who knew somebody who had been in the Washington system, and I was on the phone with her one day, and I said, you know what? There's this interesting college, Green River College. I think I want to apply to that college. And she said, well, what's the position? I said, the president. And she said, I know somebody in Washington. Could you know, at least talk to her. I said, okay, fine. So we got connected. And so the phone call begins, and this woman had never met me. We still haven't met in person. And she's on the phone, and she says, sweetheart, what are you doing? If you asked anybody in the state of Washington right now what the worst possible job would be in the entire system of Washington State, they would tell you the president at Green River College. And I said, well, somebody has to be the president of the college. And I think I'm a good fit. So the things that I'm reading about, I've experienced on both sides. I've lived through institutions that are challenged with issues that are heartbreaking and heart-wrenching and very personal and painful. I think I might be able to go and be part of a group that helps the future direction go a different way. She said, well, tell me about your background. So I did, and she said, well, maybe you would be. And while that was happening, I had the great fortune of being involved with the Aspen Institute last year. I never thought about being a president. I never thought about being anything in particular, except I just wanted to be the best I could be. I just wanted to be the best I could be for others and the best I could be for students. And they had a presidential fellowship that they began last year, and somehow they chose me to be part of that group. But it was a very validating experience, and it was something that sharpened skills that I would not have had to bring to you if I had not been part of that institute. It was a remarkable experience, and you should, if I do a good job for you, you should send thank you notes to them. Because I learned a lot. I learned a lot. I made good friends across the country in community colleges abroad, and it was a remarkable experience, and it was what brought me to you. So, what is one big takeaway as we move into our conversation about us today? I have learned, and you know, who quotes Winston Churchill? Seriously, I'm not one to do that, but I did run across this quote a while ago, and I just thought it spoke to me, much like Nelson Mandela's quote. And this is so true. It's so true. And I want everybody who comes to Green River College every day to feel this. We make a life by what we give. I learned that through my own life experiences, and it's what I want to remain doing for the rest of my living days. But it's true. It's true. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And I know we have that in common. Why did I want to come here? I wasn't on the job market. I was resettled back in New York. What was going on? Well, I've learned values matter. Values matter more than anything else, because when you're among like-minded people, anything is possible. Because you trust each other, we protect each other, and we work to a common mission and vision. We share values. We share a common vision about what Green River is. We are a catalyst for change, and we do it one student at a time. Each day we come to work. I wanted to work with people who are like-minded in our values and commitment to social justice, equity, and providing quality access to education. So we might not have a common past, but we share what's really important. Here are Green River's core values. They're mine too. Here's Green River's mission. Each student will succeed. We find ways to have each student succeed, however diverse they might be, through our academics and student services. We aspire to be one of the best. But you know what? That's not just aspirational. Our vision is achievable. Absolutely achievable. And the reason I say that is because I have learned in the few months I've been here that we understand student success is why we're here, and it's our single measurement of success. We know that a college is how students experience us, not how we experience them. It does not matter what we think students think. It matters what they think, and we must ask them what their experiences are here. Yep. We have the responsibility and the privilege to give them the highest quality education. I will stand Green River College up against any other school in the state or this country in terms of quality education. We are as good as or better than any other institution. And I say that without any hesitation because of the quality of the faculty we have here, the dedication we have in staff, and our record. We must be wholly committed to doing the best job each day for every student. And I know from everyone I've met here, that's how you come to work. And we also know every single one of us is responsible for student retention and success. It does not matter what your title is, what your position is. We are the culture at Green River College. We are what the students come in and out of each day. Every single one of us sets a tone and sets expectations. Every single one of us has choices in how we treat each other. But we set the culture and the experience that the students encounter. Every one of us. Every single one of us. And we understand now more than ever, Green River College and colleges like ours are unbelievably necessary and even more important than we already were for our country's future. So let's talk about opportunities. So while we're in Auburn, some interesting things are happening in the Seattle area. You might not know this. I didn't know this. I saw this about a week or so ago and I said, holy cow, is that true? And then I looked it up. It's true. See, the Seattle City area, which we kind of count as being part of, as I'm learning, we were number one in the nation for the greatest increase in median household income since 2010, with a 22% increase. Wow. That's insane. And number 3 in the nation for population growth. So 12% increase. I think no one's going to question that number. Try to drive anywhere. All right? Although I get a lot of time on my email in the car. Remember, I'm not driving. I'm not the one driving. Remember, it's great. All right, anyway. But yeah, you all understand the population growth because traffic, you got traffic. All right. So what's happening? So I shared this with the board and my leadership team, the exec leadership team, a few weeks ago. I said, it's all about the cranes. It's all about the cranes. And they're looking at me going, oh my God. It's one of those days she's come in, she's had way too much time to think. I'm like, it's the cranes. Do you know how many cranes there are? Okay, so no kidding. This is a measurement that you use in terms of growth. We have the most cranes in our area than any other city in this country. It's out of control. 58 cranes. No city has that many cranes. It means building, building, building. I think about 80% of this is Amazon, but okay. But nonetheless, this is what's happening in our area. We are one of the states in the top 10 in terms of job growth. In fact, we're number 7. And we have an 11% growth in jobs. That's crazy, crazy high levels. Well, you'd expect that, right? So we're one of the top, actually, I think I've got 20 things here, but we're one of the top 10 metro areas in terms of job growth as well. It's crazy in terms of the level of economic vitality that we have in this region. There's no growth problems for South King County. In fact, we've got the good problem to have. We're growing so fast, we don't know where to put people. Look at all the housing everywhere. You can't turn and throw a rock in any direction without hitting something that's being built for housing. You can't drive anywhere without, adding an extra half hour to your travel now, if it's a good day. But the question I want to ask all of you is this, and it's going to be an important one. Just because we're in an economically vital area, lots of growth, lots of great stuff, does that mean we're looking at equity in our opportunities and mobility for everyone in our service area? That's a very important question. And I have some information that will help answer that. But pause that question just for a minute. So here's what I've been asked since the first day I got here. Here's some questions for you. What will your priorities be? What will the college's future directions be? What will you be asking us to do? So while I've been asked those questions, and it makes absolute sense that you would ask a person who had that title next to it, president, has anybody noticed that boss is a 4-letter word? No joke. That's tough. Now, I understand why people always would want to ask those kinds of questions of people within particular positions. But I'm going to present to you an alternative way to think about this in terms of my service to you. I think too much is made of leadership sometimes and not enough on the necessary and important collaboration and cooperation among all of us to succeed and accomplish our goals. Leadership matters, certainly, and I'll tell you a few things that I know I have the responsibility to deliver to all of you. But really, leadership is about the why more than anything. It's not so much about how we're going to do it or what we're going to do, because those things, and I, take my years in faculty to help me know this inherently. But all of you know this here. You all contribute to our success. So when we're trying to figure out what we need to do and how we need to do it, it better be a collective decision. It has to be a collective decision because it's up to you to make it happen. Yeah. So one of the primary responsibilities I have for all of you, besides creating a culture and an environment where that is encouraged and you feel safe and protected and we can do the good work that you're all doing already and we can do better, is to remind you about the why, the value proposition. Because there are, and I love this part about being in college environments, we have contentious arguments, debates, we disagree. Thank God. If I ever went on a college campus where everybody was agreeing, I'd be thinking, what is in the water? That's one of the vibrancies of academia. But in our midst of conversation and debate and dissension and differences, keeping our eye on the prize of why reminds us there are no sides when it comes to student success. There are no sides when it comes to valuing this institution and having it reach its vision. We're all on the same side. We might have different ideas about how to get there, and that's where the conversations have to occur, but the why we're doing it keeps us all together. And that will be a primary responsibility I have for all of us in those times when we're saying, well, I think it should be this way, and I think we should do this first. Okay, great. And 20 other people have other opinions, so what are we going to do with that? And let's all remember why we're doing this. So, the other thing about these what questions is that you all had it kind of figured out already. You've already figured out what we should be doing. Last year, I understand that there were some priorities set, and they said it was about enrollment, completion, and diversity. Now I'm expanding that a little bit in our conversation, okay? Because I'm talking about enrollment, retention, and completion. And if you notice, I've embedded diversity, equity, and closing opportunity gaps in all of them. And I'll show you why. It makes good sense that these are the whats. You've already figured that out. So I'm going to tell you some stories about enrollment. So let's talk about our service area and what high schools do in our service area. These are the graduation rates from 2016. And what you see, first off, is nobody's at 100%. And I always like to flip these kinds of numbers. So what we're saying is, and although these numbers are quite good for Washington State, as I understand it, Tahoma's got the highest graduation rate, but they're still losing about 10% of their students. And then all the way down to the Muckleshoot Tribal School, where they're graduating less than half. And everybody in between. So this is just about a year ago. But when we disaggregate that, remember the question about economic vitality not equating to opportunity and mobility. We see some other interesting differences in terms of the rate at which students graduate within our high schools. It's not the same. I want to take you back to another group of students so I can talk about a different kind of thing in terms of education and enrollment. This graph is about a group of students that graduated from Auburn, Kent, and Renton back in 2010. And the reason I've chosen 2010 is because to really watch a whole outcome of a cohort, you need 6 years in terms of how we map it out for iPads and, our state reporting, and VFA even looks at 6 years out. So, by the way, if you're liking these the graphs, where's Fia? Fia, Elias, and Creek is such a sport on so many levels. First of all, she deals with me coming into her office practically every morning saying, hey, can you get me, so she's quite a humorous person with that, or patient, I should say. But she does a tremendous job, and she is rebuilding that whole area. And she's got hires out. I think we've got an offer out to somebody, and she needs to get help because, oh boy, are you hungry for data? And oh boy, can we use data to help us know how we are, where we need to go, what we need to work harder on. So thank you, Fia, for these beautiful, beautiful graphs and for, being patient with me. Okay, so 2010, this is our 6-year reach out. So let me tell you about what this graph shows us. So in 2010, the graduation rate across those 3 districts was at 83%. So the question is, how many of our Auburn, Renton, and Kentites went on to college? Only 62%. How many were still in school, in college, the second year of college? Now, it doesn't matter where they went, whether they were in-state, out-of-state, community college, 4 years, it doesn't matter. Did they go to college? Only 62% of those around us went on to college. How many were still in college the second year? Only 53%. And how many finished any degree within 6 years from those 3 school districts? Only 42%. If we break that down again in terms of race, ethnicity, right? Same chart, just looking at it broken down by race and ethnicity, and I know these numbers are going to be small for some of you, so let me just tell you. Here's what you want to see in terms of these bar graphs. You want the bar graphs to be the same, but they're not. You want the bar graphs to be the same in terms of how many went on to college, how many stayed in college in the second year, and how many completed a degree, but they're not. That's the takeaway from this picture. Yes, it'll be available to you if you want to really scrutinize the numbers, okay? But that's an important thing for you to look at. Opportunities and mobility are not the same for students in our area. What this has done collectively and additively in our communities has generated something very interesting for us to think about as a college. In terms of 18 to 24-year-olds right now in our entire service area, there are over 28,000 18 to 24-year-olds without any college. 28,000 in our service area that have no college. When we look at that next age group, 25 to 44, over 63,000 only have some college, but no completion. So it's very clear why enrollment has to be a focus here. We've got to partner with our K-12 partners. I've been meeting with all the superintendents to create a less leaky pipeline. We can help our K-12 by increasing graduation rates for all students, and in particular, students that are even more inclined to not continue. To get them on to college, of course I want them to come to Green River, but frankly, if we can keep them there until completion, I don't really care where they go for their lives. But I know that we'd be the best place to go. And we also have to start looking at what we do or what we can do for the non-traditional student. Over 63,000 of them are sitting there in this vibrant, economically vital area. And what are they doing for their futures? Are they really in life-sustainable wages and careers? I think not. And especially for those who didn't finish high school, of which there are numbers of them. I was talking to the Open Door people earlier, and I said, I have some numbers that I think you're going to be interested to see. We have a lot of prospective Open Door clients, students coming to our doors. Why retention? Well, to get them to complete, we have to keep them. So, again, I know the numbers are small. Here's the visual takeaway, though, because I'm always big on that visual takeaway because I can't see anything else. But, all right. So, this biggest, darkest, it's good to laugh, right? This biggest, darkest bar is our fall to winter retention. The next darkest bar is on to that next spring. But really what I want you to look at is the fourth bar. I know I'm coming out of range here. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. That's our fall to fall retention. What that means in terms of first-time, full-time, degree-seeking students, we have lost 73% from one fall to the next. Basically, we kept a quarter of them. And the numbers, for the other categories follow that same pattern. When we look at this in terms of race and ethnicity, again, the takeaway would be you want the bars to be the same. They are not. They are not the same. We see differences based on race and ethnicity. Pattern's the same, for sure. But our numbers are different. So we lose students of particular groups at faster or larger rates than others. Why? Why is that? What's happening? What can we do to improve that? What can we do? So completion, our retention rates impact our completion. So we're at this 2010 cohort again, right? So for the students who came to us in 2010, what was our graduation rates 6 years out? Overall, we graduated about 36%. Now, I'm about to tell you that's a pretty good number. And I'll show you in just a minute evidence of that. And we can see the different categories in terms of our full-time students, whether degree seeking, students of color versus all students and so on. But look at that 36%. That's the overarching number. And here is this group, this 2010 group that came to us when we break it down in terms of race ethnicity by 2016. What were our graduation rates based on that? And here are our numbers. I told you that 36% is a great number. It is a great number. Look at how Green River College is compared to some other sort of logical ways to compare. Because I know what some of you are thinking. 36% out of 100? That doesn't sound very good. Actually, it's quite good. It's quite good. Because when you compare it to other community colleges within WACT, by the way, somebody should have thought about how that sounds. We're 36. The system is at 28%. When we look at this in terms of two-year institutions nationally, 29%. If we just compare ourselves to other two-year public, we're even better at 20%. Here's what I need to tell you right now. You should be proud of the work you do. You should be proud of our success because comparatively speaking, we are doing an unbelievably remarkable job with the students who come to us. Certainly in terms of our comparison points. But I know that's not what you want to hear because you're all sitting there like I sit and say, I'm proud of this college and I know you've done a tremendous job, but we all know we can do better. We must do better. We must do better. We must close up opportunity gaps in terms of the groups of the differences we see among those groups, and we must do better for those individual students' lives. Now let me bring this to the forefront. I embedded diversity, equity, and inclusion in all three of those things: enrollment, retention, and completion. And the reason is because it's part of all of those things. But let's call it out. This has to be a priority for us. We must look at opportunity gaps. This can't be embedded within other issues. It is an independent issue. Race contributes independently to student completion above and beyond poverty. There is an overlap, that's absolutely true. But there's an independent contribution to that. So here we are. And the reason why that becomes important is because this is what's happening in our service area. Look at the shift from 2010 to 2015 in every school system we serve within the Green River area. Remarkable, dramatic, and rapid shifts in terms of student-side diversity. Diversity is a strength. Diversity is a virtue. It's an element of human experience. The more diverse we are as an institution, the stronger we are, the more vibrant we are. I know that we all want to improve our numbers, but they're not numbers. These are people's lives. Every data point is a person. It's a dream. It's a hope, not just for themselves, but for their family. So, what are the priorities for the year? They are enrollment, retention, and completion, but it's also culture, our relationships with each other. And yeah, we've got that little accreditation thing coming 2 years from now. Let's not bring everybody down. No. And of course, we want to be fiscally responsible. That's a primary obligation that the board has, and it's an obligation I have to make sure they can do their fiduciary responsibilities well. course, I take that seriously. But let's go back up. Let's talk about enrollment, retention, and completion, and culture. So remember how I said, relationships, process, and results. Remember how I said that leadership, there's too much made of leadership? I have to tell you, that's actually, I learned that by a friend of mine, Sandy Shugart, who's the president at Valencia College, and he says to me, he says, when you go into that job, people are going to ask you, what are your priorities? What are you going to have us do? And he said that. He said, too much is made of leadership. You obviously understand that anything that gets done anywhere is the hard work of everybody together, right? Right. But he said there is a really important thing that you do as a leader. Because I consider all of you leaders. You're leaders within your area. You're leaders within the classroom. You're leaders within your office area. You're leaders on this campus. I'm one of them, and I have responsibilities to all of you to go lead outside, be a good representative to this college. But leaders set the tone. Leaders set expectations. Leaders talk about how to work together. And it's very important to trust. Sometimes people think that teams are groups of people that work together. That's not untrue. But really, a team is a group that trusts each other. If you're busy feeling like you have to keep yourself safe and protected from other within our culture, it weakens an institution. It weakens us all. We must build our trust. We are on the same page and we want the same things. And I know I have a tremendous obligation to ensure that that continues to develop and continues to grow. I know you made great strides last year. I consider it a tremendous responsibility on my part to keep that good momentum forward. This is the beginning of our conversations, not the conversation. So please understand, as we move forward out of today, this is not the end of our conversation. This is the beginning of our conversations. Another responsibility I know I have is to really work those external partnerships. There's a reason the foundation is here today. They need to know what we're doing, how we're doing it. They are some of our greatest ambassadors to helping our students' dreams come true. Yes. There's a reason that the board is here today. It's not just to hopefully have them realize that maybe their year went well last year in terms of the search, but it's also for them. It's for free. They do this for free, right? They are some of our greatest ambassadors as well. And they need to know what and why and how we're doing things. So, that is a responsibility of mine. I'm not the only one, clearly, but I know that's a responsibility, not just in terms of our community, in terms of superintendents and so on, but with the foundation, with other entities in the state, and also nationally. We can do anything, Green River College, but we cannot do everything by ourselves. Partnerships are a key to our success. We also are going to work, if you like that loop, get ready for more images because a new marketing campaign and promotional materials are being created. It is time for us to get our statements and our values out to the public. They need to understand what a tremendous institution we have. We do have a remarkable faculty. We have a dedicated staff. And we have a record of unbelievable success by the students' own success stories. We will collectively figure out how we're going to increase our enrollment, our retention, and completion. We are going to figure out and work collaboratively to close those opportunity gaps. Remember, we are Green River College. We are the culture that students come in and out of. We should get to a point where we can stop any student on this campus or at some of our branch campuses and ask them two questions. Do you feel like you belong here? And can you name one person who would care if you didn't come back here tomorrow? That's a measure of a vibrant, healthy culture. If the answer is yes, and it's not just one name, they just keep naming names. And you know what? We should ask that of each other too. Do you feel you belong here? And can you name somebody that would be upset if you didn't come back tomorrow? We are a family. We are a community. And we are here to support those students. Our future is clear, Green River. We're going to be the premier institution in this area, not just for educational needs, whether it's transitional studies or prof tech or transfer or baccalaureate degrees, or whether it's career preparation and retraining. We will be the first choice for students attending college and the first person or partner business and industry thinks of. Not because we're going to compete with other institutions. That's a finite game where there's winners and losers. It serves no purpose. We're in the infinite game, and the infinite game is for us to strive to be the best Green River College we can be. If we do that, this is undebatable. In closing, I want to leave you with one of the most favorite quotes I've had ever. I also think of this every day. Try to. Remember it with every interaction I have. People always remember how you made them feel. They always do. They won't get the words right in terms of what you said or what you actually did, but they always make you remember how you made them feel. If we can just go out every day and remember this, not only will we be happier as individuals, but our culture will thrive even more than it has. I am so grateful to be here with you. I take this responsibility more seriously than you could even imagine. But I will do my job for you at 150% every day. I can't wait to work with you on enrollment. I cannot wait to work with you in terms of retention. And I can't wait with all of you to see every student go to commencement and walk across that stage and get their degree. I cannot wait. So if we can be anything, let's be kind and let's be dreamers. Thank you.